Hello, it's Molly and welcome back to my channel. Welcome here if it's your first time. I am really happy to be here and to be able to be filming. Today's video is all about blush. I've gotten so many different questions about application, formulas, color, so we are going to go over all of those three things. And before we get started, you can find me on Instagram at Girl Get Glamorous, on Pinterest at Molly Gardner 1. Subscribe here, share with your friends, and go check out more on the blog at Girl Get Glamorous. There are so many older posts, it's really almost overwhelming, but I did recently redo the website so it's easier to navigate. All right, let's dive right in. There's three different types of formulas: creams, liquids, and powders. Powder is probably the one that we're all the most familiar with. Cream formulas can come either in a tube, in a pot, or in a stick. This is actually a cream contour because I don't have any blush cream sticks, which actually surprised me. One of the advantages of cream blushes are that they're very easy to use at every skill level because you can just grab a little tiny bit. It doesn't move around a lot on your hand, so it's a little bit easier to control, and it also has a second skin finish, which is why cream blushes are also amazing for mature skin. You can see how that just looks and moves like my skin. Now this shade is called Temptation from Ilia Beauty, which is very quickly becoming one of my favorite brands. And this is their more coral color, which is a nice spring color. And next up is a liquid. This is actually just a sample size. I have a full size of the Daniel Sandler blushes. These are liquid blushes that I love. It is so hard to find a good liquid blush, but these are really pigmented and beautiful. Now again, liquid blushes, like a cream, are very sheer and they look like a second skin. So they're great for mature skin because they just move with your skin. They look like your skin. They give you that color and that life that you are looking for in a blush without it being heavy or cakey at all. And as you can see, this one doesn't dry down right away. You have a little bit of time to play with it and move the blush around before it sets. You can see how beautifully that shears out. Just creams and liquids in general are great for mature skin. They're great if you're going to do any HD beauty. You want, if you just want your skin to look like skin, they are an amazing your skin but better, no makeup. And so both of these I would apply on the back of my hand before applying to my cheek. I'm going to get more into that with application. Are putting makeup on the back of your hand before you apply it, what I like to do is just get a little bit of lotion and a tissue and clean everything off. This is one of my best tips I've ever learned as a makeup artist, and it just takes all the makeup off without having to use a makeup wipe. I feel like powder is the formula that people are the most familiar with. Powder formulas can be very finely milled to the point where they are as sheer and blendable as a cream or a liquid. They don't always have to be super dusty. The new formulas really are so beautiful and can create that wash of color. I love powder for one, how quick and speedy it is in the morning. I've gotten very lazy with my blush application, so the idea that I can just put something on really quickly appeals to me. And the other thing that I love about powder blush is how it catches the light when you're doing flash photography. It just brings such definition to the cheekbones. So what I look for in a formula, whether it is a cream, a liquid, a powder, is something that is sheer and buildable. I always feel like it's easier to start out with a sheer color and then build up, versus a product that's so pigmented that I'm blending and blending and blending, and it's just so much work. One of my favorite tips for people that are looking to make their blush last all day long, like if you are going to a wedding or you are going to be the bride, is to layer a cream or a liquid down first and then put a gentle sweep of powder on top of that. You will get that natural flush so that when somebody's looking up close to your skin, they don't really see the product, but then you also get that pop that powder provides with flash photography, and it really is a nice trick to make it last all day long. So there we go. All right, those are the different formulas, and we are moving and grooving. So one thing I want to talk about is color. I hear from a lot of people that have redness in their skin, in their surface tones like me, and I'm not going to get totally into undertones in this video because I do have a way more in-depth video about undertones. It's going to teach you way more than I can in the next 30 seconds, so I will link that below. But what I do want to say is that if you have a lot of surface redness like I do, you might have noticed that sometimes when you do your base and then you put blush back on, it just brings all that redness back into your skin. And you're like, wait, I just did all this work to like even out my skin tone, and now that redness is back and the blush just looks a little bit off. You look a little bit like, you know, ruddy, not as bright and fresh. The blush is not doing the thing that you want blush to do. So what I want to talk about are two shades that work really, really well for you if that's going to be an issue. I wanted to talk about a shade that is so overlooked, which is a beige blush. These beige tones are a great way to add color back into your skin without adding a ton of redness back in, where you feel like all of your base work just went out the window. There's going to be more on the blog where I show you them on my skin as well. I'm waiting for a few more from Colourpop. I tried to order them and they stopped shipping, so when they start shipping again, I'm going to have those blushes on the blog. Now, in the summer, I love a coral-ish peachy blush on a lot of people. These peachy shades can be very flattering on a lot of skin tones. I really love Flower Child for when I'm exhausted and need that flush. I really want to spend a lot more time on application and showing you where to put the blush. So I am going to use a medley of different brushes, fingers, etc., because I want to show you a few different ways to apply everything. So what we're used to is this traditional blush brush. And while I love these brushes, this is actually not what I'm going to use today. What I have been using lately to apply my makeup are these bronzer brushes. Now this one is from a brand called Moda, which is a very high quality but affordable line. And this one is actually labeled as a blush brush. It's about the same size as this IT Cosmetics bronzer brush. And most of the time when you are blushing, you're going to start to blush right around here. I like to find my pupil when you're looking straight ahead in the mirror, and then find the edge of your eye right around here. So right in between these two areas is really where I like to start applying my blush. We're gonna blend it back and then bring it forward so that we do get a nice wash of color everywhere, but this is going to be the key area. This is my natural cheekbone line. So if I put all the blush right here on the apple of my cheek, I'm going to make it look too ruddy, and then I'm gonna have some weird white spots right here between the natural contour of my face, and it's going to look a little bit meh. So let me show you with powder first, and then I will show you with cream and liquid as well, because I do want to show you everything. So I'm going to grab this big brush because this is really what I have preferred to do makeup with lately in terms of speed. And I'll just dab my brush on here a few times. I'm not picking up a ton of product. And then, like I mentioned, I'm gonna start right here around the edge of my eye. And that, if you are still struggling to figure it out, grab your two fingers, put them right here. So it's about two and a half fingers away from your nose. And then I'm going to start dabbing. I'm kind of barely touching my skin, and I'm dabbing back towards my hairline. And then with whatever I have left on my brush, I'm bringing that forward to give me a nice flush. Now you can see what I mean. I still have a little bit of separation here between the natural contour of my cheek and this area of my skin. So I'm gonna go back in and grab a little bit more blush and start to apply there so that my cheekbone blends together nicely. And then with whatever's left, I will bring it forward, and I'm always stopping around the pupil of my eye. No blush goes past this point. So you can see how this still looks really natural, but gives you that pop of color, gives your cheekbones a little extra definition without looking like 80s blush. This is that airbrush, the brush that I'm obsessed with. I have one at home and one in my kit. It comes to a point, but it's also flat on the side. As you can see, I grabbed just a little bit of blush on the side, and again, I'll start kind of at the edge of my eye, between the edge of my eye and my pupil. Dab that on, flip the brush over, start to blend it, bring it forward, stopping at my pupil, and back out towards the edge of my face. Barely any blush is really needed to give that beautiful color. Let's move on to creams and liquids. If I'm using a cream or a liquid, I'm going to use a stipple brush, and these are synthetic fiber because synthetic is the fiber to use with creams and liquids so that it doesn't get mushy and wilt. These will stand up to creams and liquids. And all of this information is going to be below. With these liquid blushes, first of all, you want to make sure that it's really shaken up. So I'm going to do 1 drop on the back of my hand. And you can either take your finger and dab this on, or this is where a stipple brush will come in hand. So I'm taking this Real Techniques brush. This is one of my new most favorite brushes, and I'm just gonna dab a little bit onto the brush. Again, I will look for the area between the pupil and the end of my eye. It's about 2.5 fingers from my face, from my nose. And I'll start to dab that on. Dab that back, and then before picking up any extra color from my hand, I'll bring that forward, stopping at my pupil. And you'll notice that I'm not smiling because as we age, if you smile while you do this, your face is just gonna drop and then the blush will just drop right down. So leave your face as it is. I am going to grab a little bit more now. And right around the edge of my eye again, I'm gonna start to dab this in. And forward, stopping so that I don't have a ton of color right here. Like I mentioned, with these cream blushes, you can either pick up a little teeny bit on the back of your finger and then start to dab on in that same area. Like I had mentioned, you can grab your stipple brush from e.l.f. Cosmetics that I love, and you can also just grab a little bit. You don't want to grab too much. With blush, it's always better to layer. So once you start to figure out where to start applying it, it becomes really easy. And then I always go back first and then forward with nothing new on my brush, and there's hardly anything left on my brush. And I always stop right here at the pupil of my eye. And now a fun thing, I don't know, that sounds kind of psycho, but whatever. Grab your same powder blush, grab a fluffy crease brush, and you can actually bring a little bit right into the crease of your eye. And it's a nice way to marry those colors together so that you have a really nice cohesive looking face. And this took me 10 seconds and I still rambled the whole time. Okay. That is everything. Oh, let's do a little bonus. So I feel like there's a term that people say all the time that I hear called blush topper. And I feel like that's not super clear what a blush topper is. So a blush topper is basically just a highlighter or a more shimmery blush that can go on your cheek. And if you are using a cream or a liquid blush, you can do a cream or a powder highlighter, and you can do this before or after because creams and liquids will work well together. And what you'll do is just pop a little on where you would naturally highlight, and then as a blush topper, you can go right underneath the pupil of your eye and right sort of at the top of the apple of your cheek and just dab a little bit right there and blend that out. And you can see how that catches the light. So this is a good idea if you are going to be taking flash photos. It does add a nice little sheen and pop to the front of your cheek. It's a trick that I use on set a lot for models. So if they smile, their cheeks can, you know, pop and catch the light. So, oh, powder. So, okay, grab your highlighter brush and grab your highlighter. And you can use a powder highlighter over powder or over cream or liquid. You just cannot use a powder first and then a cream and a liquid after that because it will catch on your skin. So grab just a little bit, and again, we'll start to highlight back here and then grab a little bit and go over, starting at the pupil, over the top. I don't bring it past this point. So kind of where the top of your nostril, why is that word so weird to say? At the top of your nostril is where you're gonna stop, and you'll just put a little bit right underneath the pupil, up and out. And that's gonna be just enough to catch the light as you're talking, as you're taking photos. You know, you don't have to do this. You can just do blush as it is, which I do most days because, like I mentioned, I have been getting lazy with my makeup. But the more I've been home, actually, the more, I mentioned this in Instagram stories the other day, the more I have been doing full glam because I find it so relaxing to do my full makeup. So this is the full look with blush on. I'm gonna try to be tech savvy and put in a shot of me before blush, and this is me after. Next video is going to be all about bronzer, so make sure that you stay tuned, stick around, subscribe, all that good stuff. All right, thank you. I actually don't have a, why do I keep dropping things? Become one with your sin. I hope they don't become one with your sin. I'd rather start, right, I'm dropping things. Oh my word. I would rather start out with a little bit, everything's falling over.